Hello, this is Oz for One with some Sports 703 1v1 gameplay. This was an extremely interesting game because my opponent was just far more aggressive than I've ever been used to from him. He immediately moved up on my right, and while I spotted him, he did not spot me, so I hunkered down in these bushes and watched him move behind the box truck, and I made the mistake of shooting the moment I saw him. I didn't give him time to expose himself fully. I got off 4 shots, which was a little excessive. Again, I really just needed to aim one well-timed shot, but I didn't. I moved over here, and I made the decision not to reload, which was honestly questionable, and I moved back over to these bushes to see if I could get an arc shot to where I thought he was standing. The chance I would succeed with this was very low, but I suppose if I'm going to reload anyway, it wasn't that much of a loss. The time could have been better spent, is what I'll say. I ran over here and I moved a little farther back than I normally would to reload, mostly because he was just being so aggressive throughout this entire match. I was not used to him moving up immediately at all. Normally he's a very wait, move, watch, move kind of player, which is really good. Those are the tactics you're supposed to use, but he did an excellent job of just keeping me on my toes, never giving me time to think or figure out what was going on. He just pushed constantly. Now, I set my gun on the ground here, and I could kind of sense that this was a huge mistake, but I was too far in. He popped out in that door, started shooting, and now I'm left with my gun on the ground, so that was the dumbest mistake that I've probably ever made in Airsoft so far. I reloaded my shells just so I had them ready, and I basically just had to wing it because I was hoping he would not be watching that spot, and what do you know, he wasn't. I think he might have been moving to another door to get a better angle on it. Maybe he didn't even realize that my gun was on the ground, but either way, you'll notice in a second that I actually had a jam with the gun. It is a minor design flaw, but it's not at all something that should be a deal breaker. Basically, the cylinder popped out so that it was a little misaligned with the receiver. It's not something that happens a lot. It's only happened once, and you're looking at it. Basically, I just had to push it in with my thumb, and I didn't realize that immediately. We have a rule in our 1v1 games. You can call out that your gun is jammed, and you can just fix it so you can continue the gunfight. It took me 30 seconds, or not even 30, 1 second to fix once I realized what was wrong. Now it's better. I moved out to see if I could figure out where he was, because I wasn't really sure where he thought I was. So I moved out a little too far for any peeking, but I got lucky and saw him in that doorway to the left of the concrete barrier. I got one shot off, again, too early. I need to wait for him to show his full body so I can aim for center mass, but I was a little impatient this game. I just would not wait long enough to get that perfect shot. Now, I ran over here to see if I could get a close range shot on him using a hole in the wall, but he immediately knew I was there and just started plugging away at that hole. You can hear the little ticks as he hits the boards. I kept my knuckles way too close to that hole, and you'll see in a second I realized my mistake and moved my knuckles away, because first of all, that would really hurt, and secondly, I'd be out, which would also suck. So I was basically just waiting for him to run out of wind in his magazine. That's not the proper term, but he really didn't. He kept it on single fire, great trigger discipline, just popping off shots constantly. There was really no room for me to do anything about it, and you'll see at this point I basically just gave up and turned around because I was hoping he wouldn't notice I had left, like he would think I was just waiting for him to stop firing, and I went for the flank. I moved around here, but just in case, of course, always check your corners, which I did. One of the few good decisions I made this game. And I just I started moving up, I wanted to check the doorway, but the funny thing here is I actually couldn't remember which doorway he was in. I just couldn't line up the dimensions in my head, so I ended up going a little farther down than I needed to check every doorway, because I just couldn't figure it out. Now, you'll see on the left, or you won't see, but I saw an orange tip on the doorway on the left, and I just fired too early, again, but it did scare him plenty, so after I shot at him, I believe that was 2 shots, I ran over to this door to see if I could get him while he was recovering, and he actually started running down the aisle there, and I shot through the fence and it hit him in the thigh, and that just shows how accurate and powerful this gun is. I say good game to my opponent, and I highly recommend the gun.